Some characters come into a story and you figure them out in seconds. Then there is Celine from K-pop Demon Hunters, who is like that mysterious senior everyone whispers about but no one fully understands. She walks in looking sharp, moves like she owns the room, and somehow has an energy that makes people straighten up without being told. On the surface, she is all discipline and control, the type who follows the rules to the letter. But spend just a little more time watching her and you start to realize there is a storm under that calm. This woman is not just fighting demons, she is fighting memories, regrets, and a secret so heavy it has shaped the way she treats the people closest to her. And that secret, the one fans call her darkest, has turned her into one of the most talked about characters in the whole film. Before she was the legendary mentor of demon hunters, Celine had a completely different life. She used to be a pop star, the kind who stood under blinding lights with crowds screaming for her. She lived in a world of rehearsals, perfect makeup, and constant pressure to stay flawless. But somewhere along the way, something happened that ripped her out of that glittering life and threw her straight into a battlefield where survival mattered more than fame. She swapped microphones for demon blades and catchy choruses for ancient hunting chants. By the time we meet her, she is a figure of discipline and precision, and that old idol charm has been replaced with something much sharper. With Rumi, her protégé, who just happens to be half demon, she is not the kind to hug and reassure. Instead, she trains her with strict rules, a cold kind of care, and a very clear message that some truths must never be shown. This bond between Celine and Rumi is complicated. You can see Celine cares about her, maybe even more than she wants to admit, but she has also filled Rumi with the belief that her demon side is something to be ashamed of. Every lesson seems to come with an unspoken warning that being fully herself could destroy her. That is why so many fans believe that whatever happened with Rumi's parents is the reason Celine is like this. There is this feeling that her strictness is not just about keeping Rumi safe from demons, it is about keeping her safe from the truth of her own life. One theory that has taken over fan discussions paints Celine as the survivor of a terrible accident. According to this idea, she had been hunting Rumi's demon father when things spiraled out of control. In the chaos, Rumi's human mother, who may have been Celine's closest friend, was killed. That guilt would explain why she is so determined to keep Rumi's demon heritage hidden. It would also make sense of the way she reacts whenever Rumi's powers slip through. Every harsh word and every command could really be her trying to make sure she never has to face that same loss again. Another theory pushes the story in a more personal direction. This one suggests that Celine felt deeply betrayed when her best friend fell in love with a demon. It was not just about danger or politics, it was personal. In her eyes, that choice went against everything they had worked for as hunters. If this was the case, her dislike of Rumi's demon side would be about more than fear. It would be about reopening a wound she has never allowed to heal. Every time she sees those glowing demon marks, she might be remembering the moment her friend chose a path she could never forgive. The second theory that instantly captures attention, even from viewers who might not usually dig into fan speculation. This version paints Celine not as a tragic bystander, but as the direct cause of Rumi's parents' deaths. In this telling, Celine saw them as having crossed an irreversible line, no longer people she could save, trust, or even reason with. They had, in her eyes, become dangerous liabilities, and the only solution was to remove them entirely. She stepped into the role of judge, jury, and executioner, carrying out the act in a way that allowed no chance for repentance or reversal. Supporters of this theory believe it explains her sharp, almost visceral reaction when Rumi's demon marks are exposed, as if the sight forces her to relive a decision she can never undo. They also point to her skill in avoiding direct answers about the past, sidestepping moments where the truth might leak out. If true, her mentorship of Rumi becomes less about protection and more about guarding a devastating secret. Supporters of this theory point to the telling details scattered throughout the film. They note how violently she reacts when Rumi's demon marks are revealed, as though the sight alone reopens a wound she has tried desperately to seal. They also highlight the way she dodges direct questions about the past, avoiding explanations that could tie her too closely to the tragedy. If this theory holds weight, then her role as Rumi's mentor is not simply about guiding and protecting her from danger. It is about controlling the narrative, keeping buried secrets from ever clawing their way to the surface. What keeps all these theories alive is that Celine feels real enough for any of them to be possible. She is not just a hunter with skills. She is a woman who carries her past like armor, using it to shape Rumi into something she thinks will survive. The way she teaches Rumi to hate her demon side is a classic case of someone forcing another person to reject part of themselves. The more you look at it, the more you see that her guidance can be as harmful as it is protective. That is what makes her so fascinating. She is not a hero in shining armor, but she is not a villain twirling a mustache either. She is somewhere in between. When Rumi's demon marks finally flare up in front of her, Celine does not pause to think. Her reaction is instant, sharp, and filled with something that looks a lot like fear. It is the kind of response that only comes from a person who has been through something similar before. It is like watching someone see the past rise from the dead and stand right in front of them. That moment tells you more about Celine than any backstory could. It shows you how close her control is to cracking. The film uses visual cues to underline this contrast between Celine and Rumi. Celine's look is always precise, muted, and controlled. There is not a single loose detail about her. Rumi, on the other hand, is full of color and unpredictable energy. Her demon marks burn bright and refuse to be hidden. Put them side by side and you see the bigger picture. Celine is a wall against chaos, and Rumi is the chaos she cannot shut out. This is not just style, it is storytelling without words. Underneath the demon fights and flashy choreography, Celine's story carries some heavy themes. There is the cost of chasing perfection, the way it can strip away your ability to connect with others. There is the way trauma passes from one generation to the next, shaping lives long after the original wound. And there is the uncomfortable truth that love, when mixed with fear, can turn into control. Celine does love Rumi, but her way of showing it leaves scars of its own. If the truth about her darkest secret ever came out, it would change the entire shape of the story. Right now, she is a strict mentor with a sharp tongue. With the full truth, she becomes the emotional core of the film, the one whose choices are tangled up in the bigger questions about identity and acceptance. It makes K-pop Demon Hunters more than just a fight between heroes and monsters. It becomes a story about the parts of ourselves that we are told to hide and the fight to decide whether we will. And the larger world around her is just as important. The film drops hints about a long line of demon hunters with ancient traditions and secret rituals. Celine's group Hunter X is connected to mythical guardians, which suggests there is a whole history waiting to be explored. Add to that the shadow of Gui Ma, a powerful demon whose influence touches both sides of Rumi's identity, and you have a story where every move Celine makes feels like it matters to something much bigger than herself. Part of the reason people cannot stop talking about Celine is that the film mixes the action with the emotional tension so well. Yes, the battles are exciting, but the real drama is in watching Celine and Rumi navigate each other. Sometimes they are mentor and student, sometimes they are allies, and sometimes it feels like they are one wrong step away from becoming enemies. The fact that the movie refuses to fully explain Celine's past keeps the tension alive in every scene they share. The fandom is not letting this go anytime soon. Clips are being rewatched in slow motion. Theories are being posted at 3 in the morning. People are drawing entire timelines of her possible history. Every scrap of information is treated like gold. Until a sequel confirms or denies the speculation, this mystery is going to keep the community buzzing. Whether she is a wounded protector or a cold executioner, the fascination comes from the fact that she feels like someone you could meet in real life. She just happens to live in a world filled with demons. In the end, Celine's darkest secret is more than a simple plot twist waiting to happen. It is the thing that explains her every move, her every moment of silence, her every flash of anger. It makes her love complicated and her trust nearly impossible to earn. And when the sequel finally comes, the question will not just be what demon they are fighting, it will be whether Celine can survive her own truth. Until then, she will stay exactly where she has been since the beginning, balanced perfectly between light and shadow, daring everyone to try and figure her out. Anyway, that's all we have for today's video. Thank you for watching till the end. Which of these theories about Celine do you believe? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next episode.